Hi everybody, I'm Paxash, and welcome back to Paxash Plays Trick and Treat. I'm just gonna jump back into it because I don't really have anything to say as an intro. Okay. It is a day like any other, so normal that it was almost painful. The only special thing that could be said about it is that it's October 31st. 31st. I have a lisp. That's what that means, I guess. Far were the memories when I was a kid and went out with my friends to ask for sweets from house to house. Just remembering it made me sigh. I feel nostalgic. Some things were better when I was a child. Or at least seems like that. There were some who had good costumes, whether of superheroes or monsters. My friends and I, on the other hand, had to use our imagination. Creativity was our costume, you could say, no matter how funny it could sound. I remember that my mother once painted red my face and told me, "You will be the devil." The fuck? What the hell's wrong with your mom? But it seems only she saw it that way. When we went from home to home, everyone said I was the tomato man. So your neighborhood's messed up too, because that's just a weird thing to think. But those things didn't matter to me, since we always had a good time. You will be the devil, I have decreed. The fuck? What a weird thing to say to your kid. If I asked for candy now, even if I had the best costume, I'm sure no one would give me anything. They'd probably still give you something, they'd just give you a weird look with it. Except perhaps a scolding for acting like a child when I'm 17 years old. But anyway, I can't stay in the past. I must live in the present, no matter how little exciting that might be. Back to reality. We're a group of friends who don't have any plans for today. Maybe we'll go into the woods and be angry that a cat has the audacity to be there with us. We're still not old enough to go to a disco. And I doubt guys as us would have any luck in that environment. You know, I just realized I don't know, like, what country of origin the people who made this game are. Or from, I mean. Because a disco is not an American thing. So I don't know where that would be normal. The other option would be to go to a party, meet girls, and have fun. Everything perfect, except that nobody has invited us. Not being popular has its disadvantages. Hey, Axel, let's have a couple matches. What do you say? Oh, they do have names. My friend Steven called my attention while playing with the game console. Oh, God, I didn't know what the fuck that was. Rush Red. I'm sitting there looking at Rush Red like, what the hell is that? I believe that's what the game is called. A fast and quite complicated fighting game for me. I would normally agree to play with him, but for some reason I don't feel in the mood today. I have no desire to play now. That's the way you talk to your friends? I do not desire to play this game, Rush Red. I replied with discouragement. I almost feel bad for doing it. Boring. The AI is no rival for me, Steven said with confidence. That you're playing on normal difficulty does not help your argument. I don't feel like losing, but if you want, you could challenge to Alfred. Okay, so we've got Axel, Steven, and Alfred. Alright. I said, leading my attention to my other friend. I don't know how to play that, answered Alfred, doubting for a second. He's sitting behind the PC, but it seems that he isn't doing anything interesting. The screen only shows a lot of text. I think he's in Wikipedia. Hey, don't you have something more fun to do? He asked with discouragement, without even thinking about what he was reading. Alfred looks at me surprised. The actual problem of society is that people are not interested in discovering their history. He's one of those pseudo-intellectuals always looking for any rare information to appear smarter than others. But you all talk like that. Like, so far you all talk like weird people. Which I don't know that that's intentional. It might just be because I get the sense that this is a translation not made by a native English speaker just because the wording's a little weird. So I don't know if they intentionally talk like the way they do. I don't know how to describe it otherwise. When we forget our past mistakes, we are doomed to repeat them. He added later. What are you talking about? This village is small and its story's not interesting at all. Nothing outside of the normal has ever happened in it. Alfred laughs mockingly after hearing that. Your ignorance is worthy of praise. He pauses, filling his chest with pride. The very fact is a small town. The very fact it is a small. I can't read. It is a small town is the reason it's full of mysteries. Did you know that 20 years ago, on this date, a man disappeared? So, what about it? Yeah, exactly. I asked without being impressed or even interested in the least. Things like that happen all the time in all places. As I thought, you don't know the history despite living in this very place. Alfred said while adjusting his glasses in an arrogant gesture. This definitely sounds like the kind of guy nobody wants to be friends with. There's a legend behind the disappearance. That's what I was reading. After listening to him, I looked back at the computer screen with curiosity. It's then that I noticed that it was not Wikipedia, but some other page. Come on, read this and learn a little, Alfred said, inviting us to read what was on the screen. Both Stephen and I moved closer to read it. Town of Abingdon, Oxfordshire Country, 1994. I came to this town with only 4,000 inhabitants to support them in an investigation. Truth is that never in my life have I seen something this strange. I won't say your typical detective-ish nonsense that I have seen thousands of strange things in my life. I've seen many crimes, yes, some difficult to solve, but all of them were human. Even if you don't know how they managed to perpetrate the crime, you know that they are people like anyone else. In this case, I don't think I'm able to say the same thing. These actually still sound like the typical detective-ish nonsense, So yeah. Truth is that I can't understand what happened. Okay, there we go. I was called for the disappearance of a man named Matthew Graham, 23 years, single. The last time he was seen, he was returning home from a Halloween party. He had drank alcohol, but was still sober. Or at least that's what witnesses said. Anyway, this is not something which can be explained with a simple drunkenness. He apparently got lost on the way home and decided to enter the forest called Oakwood. It had rained yesterday, so the ground was wet and muddy. We could easily find his traces, which were leading deep inside the forest. Apparently he walked for 3 hours before stopping. You knew that it took him 3 hours. That sounds like a pretty big assumption. I say stop, but the truth is we don't know what happened then. The tracks suddenly ended up in a clearing in the forest, and that's all. There was no evidence of struggle, no other trace or pieces of clothing on the ground. There was no blood, no more footprints, anything else. The depth of his last footprints and the position they were in indicated that he was still walking. At no point he stood still. It was as if he had vaporized in the air, with all his clothes, in the middle of his walk. I'm gonna say aliens. Definitely aliens. Or one of those Bigfoot alien combinations that, sometimes cryptid sightings kind of dip into. Yeah. Anyway. Obviously I can't believe such a thing, but I can't give another explanation. The only thing I remember is that near the footprints I sensed a faint smell of rot. However, there were no animal corpses nearby. It's ridiculous to think he suddenly started to decay and became earth. In the end, the case was closed in just 3 days. With no evidence of any kind, we couldn't say anything but that he decided to escape from the village. Is there something wrong with the village that you need to escape from it? Like, you can't just leave? Like, he didn't leave the village, he escaped from it, implying that he was being held there. However, while officially there was no more to do, I couldn't sleep in peace. Thinking about what could have happened to him took away my sleep. In my mind, I thought all sorts of theories, like maybe everything was a plan developed by Matthew, but in the end they all seemed impossible. I decided to investigate more on the issue. I searched the town for similar stories, and to my surprise I found 4 more, all young men. The story was always the same. They walked into the forest alone, disappearing without trace. Okay, so the 3 young men in this story decide that they're gonna walk into the forest alone and don't expect to disappear without a trace. These are the geniuses we're dealing with. Even more curious is that all of them disappeared on the same date. Oh, let me guess what the date is. October 31st. Oh my god, who could have seen that coming? But there is more. A detail that completely eliminates the possibility that there is a killer or kidnapper behind this. And that is the separation of years. Roger Bacon. Why is the name Bacon just funny? Disappeared in 1924. Mitchell Smith disappeared in 1867. Jason Black disappeared in 1813. And the worst of all, Oswald Taylor disappeared in 1707. It simply couldn't be possible. My curiosity led me to dig deeper. I thought that the answer may be in the past of the forest. It was then when I discovered that what actually seemed to be a simple and boring forest actually hid a great story. Before it was called Oakwood, or Oaks Forest, the place was called Witchwood. The word witch has used similarity with witch. That's probably not how you say W-Y-C-H. I'm just guessing. Taking into consideration that it is an old name and language changes over time, that indicates that it was the Forest of Witches. Apparently more than 400 years ago, the people of the village believed witches lived in the woods. Unfortunately, almost all the information is already lost. They were stories told in voice, without a properly written record. It's weird that they were lost then, because, like, oral history... Like, we are aware of oral history. They don't have to necessarily be written down. I just know that with the change of religion to Christian, people stopped seeing the witches with good eyes and began to hunt them. Apparently the last one before her death cast a curse on the forest, which even today should continue to exist. Anyway, obviously I cannot accept something like that as the answer. In the end, I have no other choice than accepting that each one of them escaped from the village, using the legend of the forest to make it look like it was something supernatural. We done? Alright. Well, interesting story. I didn't know that such a story was hiding in this town. I said, honestly surprised. Even if it is a lie, it managed to hold my interest. Wait, there's something more. Alfred said at the same time he scrolls to the comments. We reread as written there. Yeah, we read. Got a little slurry there. It's fine. A couple of comments call our attention. And I think we'll see what those comments are in the next one. So, that'll be the end of this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.